What is it?
Uh, uh, Something from our art director from Itahara Studios.
Close, close, close. But picture what it is. What design do you think is behind this paper?
Triangle. I'm getting three. I'm getting something with a three. I'm going triangle.
No, it's close, close, close. We'll try again next time. Hold on, let me figure out how to send that remote zap to you. Anyways, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. In this video, we are joined by Mr. C, and we are talking about Ghostbusters. As stuff falls off to the side here. Ghostbusters Afterlife, and we'll be doing a spoiler review talk. Mr. C, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm feeling good. It was a good day to deciding who you were going to be calling. It was a good day to be busting ghosts. So I'm happy to be here for a PM airtime, a nighttime show. And
That's
you
right.
yourself, sir, how is your day today?
I'm all right. I'm all right. You know, I got that booster vaccine earlier in the week, and it kind of knocked me down. So I feel like I'm getting myself back together here. So that feels good. All right. So you have seen Ghostbusters Afterlife earlier today, right?
Fresh from the movie house.
Awesome. All right. And I saw it earlier. So as we talk about Ghostbusters Afterlife here, we'll talk about the film as a whole, and then we'll get into the spoiler-free review. So if you have not seen the film, you can hang out, be perfectly safe. And then we will flip this up where we are straight into the spoilers. And yeah, it'll be no holds barred from there. And then we'll also get into some next steps, or where do we think the franchise goes after Ghostbusters Afterlife. All right. So, yes, that's right. You get knocked down, but you get up again.
That's the
right.
way of it.
And even better. By the way, if it's all right, Mr. C, could you put up that visual that we received from our art director earlier
All right,
today?
let's see how smoothly we can pull this off here. Let's see.
Yeah, oh wait, that's Macho Man. Never mind, it's Fanboy Cantina time. Who you gonna call? Fanboy Cantina, brother.
Classic.
That is fabulous. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Ghostbusters Afterlife and the film itself. I saw the first Ghostbusters on the north side of Chicago. I saw it in the theater with my mom. There were some awkward moments in that film to see with your mother as a young kid, but it was a phenomenon, and I absolutely loved the first Ghostbusters film back in the '80s. And when I saw the film, it was a thing, right? You could not get away from watching the music video, the Ray Parker Jr. Video, and I dressed up as a Ghostbuster for Halloween.
I didn't know that.
It was a huge thing for me. I absolutely loved the franchise. How about you, Mr. C?
Definitely classic comedy. So I've often thought of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein as maybe the top horror comedy. So now through the first Ghostbusters movie gave us a very different interpretation of a classic horror comedy. You know, you could throw your Young Frankensteins in there as well. But we didn't, I don't want to say we didn't know how good we had it, but in context, let's look at some of the other amazing things that graced the screen in 1984. It was raining down good movies. So Indiana Jones wasn't far off from there. Temple of Doom, Karate Kid was right around there. Romancing the Stone was right around there. Beverly Hills Cop was right around there. So I mean, we were spoiled back in the day as young people to have this many good, just a couple of weeks or months in between. And here's another amazing film. And Ghostbusters absolutely stands out as that, between the Ray Parker Jr. song, between just the people quoting lines, right, as were lines quoted in conversation from Saturday Night Live or catchphrases going to Happy Days and what other through TV, through movies. Ghostbusters, who you going to call, was right up there with the most popular things anybody could say because the movie was so funny and engaging and memorable.
I remember saying it randomly at school, just who are you going to call? And everybody would say Ghostbusters because it was the thing. It was a phenomenon. And then with Ghostbusters 2, it's a good film. It's a good film. Yeah, I did not enjoy it as much as the first, but it's a good film. I did see the reboot, Ghostbusters 2016. I don't know how we call it. It's an okay film. It's an okay film. I think it got more hate than it deserved, but it was an okay film, for me. And oh yes, the marshmallow call out. You got the Stay Puft Marshmallow front and center right there. Very nice, Mr. C.
Yeah, welcome in, Mandarin, and thanks for recognizing one of the great pieces that made that first movie such an outstanding thing in the whole business. Just like, how are they sitting around and think, okay, let's come up with something so funny, ridiculous to show kind of the innocence of the Ray Stantz character, and then get such a visual. So compared to other giant-sized monsters, you got your Godzillas, you got your King Kongs as precedents or those who came before the Stay Puft. But wow, visual, animation style, overall tone, you cannot beat the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yep. No, wholeheartedly agree. Let's talk about the movie itself, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I'll put it up here on the screen. From the description, when a single mom and her two kids arrive in a small town, they begin to discover their connection to the original Ghostbusters and the secret legacy their grandfather left behind. Looking at Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter shows it at 63%, kind of a mixed bag amongst the critics, but then the audience score is astronomically high at 95%. This film starring Carrie Coon, Paul Rudd, Finn Wolfhard, and you can see the rest, but McKenna Grace really stands out as the star of the film in the role of Phoebe. All right, and the current box office is at 150 million. So, and a shout out for that. What is, yes, that is a fabulous. Let's go to the one shot. That is a fabulous shirt.
Let's speak on the T-shirt for a minute. So it's kind of a layered joke, including some Cubs history, and again to draw in the Chicago area influences. Harold Ramis, Chicago guy, Bill Murray, Chicago guy, and so in relatively recent history, as the Cubs were making their successful campaign to the World Series, which they had not been successful, they had not been champions for 100 years. So it's an easy Google search. There's Bill Murray sitting in Wrigley Field wearing not this exact same T-shirt, but this exact style of T-shirt. I ain't afraid of no goat. So making the play off of I ain't afraid of no ghost, and then the goat curse from the Cyanus family, who had the Billy Goat Tavern. So then as a mashup between I ain't afraid of no ghost and dismissing the curse of the goat, hence that T-shirt came to be. I'm sure it's still available somewhere online.
Very, very, very cool shirt. I am jealous. I am jealous of the shirt, and I want that Muppet thing on the other side. What the heck? What?
Oh, the Beaker and Bunsen Honeydew light switch.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's
switch, because then that would have a thing. But wow, that's another. When you have a thing so long, you can't remember exactly where it came from. But all I can say for right now, while we're doing a live show, is let's utilize Google to see if these things are still accessible. I appreciate the love for the T-shirt. I appreciate the love for the light switch. And then I see Junkyard is jumping in, so let's just do a little zoom. It's definitely Stay Puffed.
There you
Just
go. Very, very nice piece. That is a large piece there.
Yeah, this guy again. Things that have passed us by. This guy came out of Monster Island Toys, which is long ago closed, but it was a south side of Chicago, not too far from the other ballpark, not too far from Sox Park, which continues to have a different name at a different point in time. Yeah, and Monster Island Toys is long closed, but I'm happy to have this piece that came out of Monster Island Toys.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So you saw the film not that long ago. I saw it when it came out 2 3 weeks ago now. I think at this point. What are your thoughts and impressions? Again, this is the spoiler free, so try to sanitize it as much as you can. Your spoiler free take on Ghostbusters
Well,
Afterlife.
let me approach this landing strip via the disparity between the tomato meter and the fan score. So, right, I mean, back in the day, Siskel and Ebert, it wouldn't have been all that much fun if it was always 2 thumbs up or 2 thumbs down. Having a bit of disparity or discrepancy between two different opinions that can make some grist for the mill, can allow for some good conversation. So I'm good with the tomato meter and the fan report being different. I liked it. It had me from the jump. You know, the musical cues, the cinematography. They had me on the hook. You know, knowing that the original cast would be more in a cameo role as we are now, so many years past 1984 and past the original production, the original release. But here I knew little to nothing of McKenna Grace, but boy, oh boy, did she. Are we sure she's not the actual granddaughter of Harold Ramis? I mean, this young lady looks like a Spangler for sure. And Finn Wolfhard, again, this is okay. So what I know him most from is Stranger Things, and he's done a great many things now. But that's in Stranger Things, they were wearing Ghostbusters costumes on Halloween, and now here he comes wearing a Ghostbusters suit again. I don't know if somebody's pitched that question to him in an interview or in social media or somewhere, but like, what was that like? Were the suits exactly the same, or he's a little bit older? You know, what was his experience dressing like a Ghostbuster in Stranger Things? What was his experience dressing like a Spangler, a Ghostbuster in Ghostbusters? So just they had me from the jump, and I was along for the ride. What was your experience?
Well, one comment. You apparently sound like Jeff Bridges, which I guess is a compliment. Uh, yeah, yeah. But anyway, I don't
Which is
know.
funny because long ago we did a Tron retro review.
That's right. That's right. You need like a robe next time. You know, we could do that.
A little bit of a dudely way to go.
So I'm looking at my own notes. You know, I really enjoyed the movie. I was looking forward to seeing the movie. I was looking forward. It was among the films that I was most looking forward to in 2020, and unfortunately, right due to the pandemic, it got delayed. Finally, it is out, which is fabulous, and you know, I it delivered exactly what I was hoping for, actually. It was exactly what I was looking for. I think it relies heavily on the nostalgia as a film. I think there are certain points where it gets unusually slow. And so I wonder a bit if you were new to the franchise, if you had not seen the first or second Ghostbusters, I don't know how well it holds up. I do think if you're a fan of Stranger Things, if you're a fan of this type of genre, I think it should work, you know, generally pretty well. Uh, but you know, I think it's got some pacing issues, and you know, I cried. I actually cried in the movie. I cried at a couple of points in the very beginning, which we'll speak to in the spoiler section, as well as the tail end. I was a hot mess. I was an absolute disaster. I think performances all around were really great. McKenna Grace is just astounding. I think she must have been just 13 or so when they were filming this movie. It's astounding, and she actually did the song that you hear at the end during the credits. So kudos to her, and assuredly going to be a star here. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie, though I don't think it's a perfect film, but it gave me what I wanted. It gave me what I wanted. From Junkyard, I look forward to seeing Ghostbusters 2 and really want my money back. This way better. Never saw Ghostbuster Answer the Call. And I don't think that's a wrong take. I don't think that's a wrong take. But the second Ghostbusters film, it was missing something for me. As time has gone on, I enjoy it more. But when I first saw it, yeah, it didn't quite work. It was a lot darker, I think. Or for my taste, it was a lot darker. It just didn't connect for me.
Junkyard is wise. Junkyard is typing in some wise words into the screen. I'm going to say this is approaching an Egon Spangler level meta awareness of things, and spot on for Junkyard to call it as it is.
Yeah, and the Mandarin multitasking by putting on Iron Man to compare you to Jeff Bridges. Probably not the video that I would have, not the movie I would have chosen to get a glimpse of Jeff Bridges, but whichever. Yeah, and that's right. The Ghostbusters. It's hard to beat the original.
They're at the top of the mountain. There's a lot of mountain below the top of the mountain, so you can still hit good kind of near the mountaintop, but Ghostbusters is so very at the zenith,
That's
zenith
right.
of the mountain.
That's right. That's right. All right. Anything else that we should cover in the spoiler-free section before we get to the dicier stuff?
My man Paul Rudd jumping universes from Once Upon a Time being a little bit clueless to giving us an amazing depiction of Scott Lang, and now here he comes as a seismologist. I think that was the right term, but all the better. So let's get to it.
He's the sexiest man alive, right? In 2021, he is genuinely the sexiest man alive.
Who can argue that point?
Yeah, who can argue?
I have no counter argument to that.
I'm going to show something here before we get into the spoiler section, because I do think it's just an absolute, what the heck is it? An absolutely wonderful piece here. So I'll go to the one shot. This is available from AMC, although I don't think you can find it anymore. It appeared online ever so briefly and then completely sold out. That's how I got this. It is probably the world's best popcorn container, and it lights up. It doesn't make sounds. It doesn't roll or anything, but it's a very large popcorn container, and an exciting thing to add to the collection.
That is the actual listed function of that device as popcorn container.
It does say popcorn container, so it opens up. You can chuck.
Ecto 1 did drive through the cornfield, and you got all that heat and radiation or whatever their stuff that they have in there. So hey, that some corn must have been popped. It fits.
I am not going to expose that thing to high fructose whatever stuff and test the plastic, but it's a lovely piece. All right, so let's get right into it here. This is the spoiler section here, and okay, yes, don't even know what that was about, but right on. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. Does the all-female version fit into the Ghostbusters universe story, or was it a total spin-off, one-off? It's a good question. It does not come up in this movie. Shoot. Okay. Are we in this? I don't know. I think it's safe to say the Ghostbusters Afterlife film is really contained within the first and the second films. To some extent, it even seems like it airs more towards the first film than the second. And so it is kind of off in its own alternate universe or island. Even the original actors appear in the Ghostbusters 2016, let's call it, but not in their roles, not as the Ghostbusters.
I would say a possible step that may have benefit the 2016 release would have been, instead of rebooting or starting fresh and just having the original cast people in very small cameos, would have been, were it in the same universe, that all the events of Ghostbusters 1 and Ghostbusters 2 had occurred, and then they were unto their own, the next generation of Ghostbusters operating within the firehouse or what have you. That might have allowed for some different setups and some different concepts, some different results. But hey, what's done is done, and here we are now with Afterlife.
No, that is right. That is right. Oh, and one more thing. If you ever had the chance to play Ghostbusters on Commodore 64, it had the option. I forgot about this. I remember this. Um, it was I'm trying to visualize the game itself. I know there's a YouTube video that goes through like all of the Ghostbusters video games in order, and I thought there were like two. and, and so that's a great memory. I did not have the C64, but I remember playing that game.
Junkyard, help us out. What were some of the options in the trick out process? Was it changing the colors or adjusting the tone of the siren? I'm not remembering the details.
No, there was like different features that you could add to the thing. It wasn't like just like color. I'm not telling that story. All right, so I will
just say that last time we put out a review and we were on Hawkeye episodes 1 through 3, that theme came up as relevant for restroom distancing etiquette, especially in a post-pandemic recovery kind of a world. So we definitely want to have some social distancing where that wouldn't be a case where a stream crossing would be a possibility.
Yeah, no, yeah, when I went to the bathroom after seeing the film, I did think about saying it out loud, "Don't cross the streams," but I didn't think it was going to land for everybody here. There's just some things you shouldn't do in the bathroom. All right, so let's put up the spoiler tag. Let us put up the spoiler tag again. If you have not seen wait, no, that's the wrong one. All right, so if you haven't seen the film, just put it on pause or turn it down. Whatever you like, come back. It'll be all right. And also, if you are watching this later, post in the comments because we'd love to hear from you. All right, into the spoilers. Would you like to start, Mr. C?
First spoiler: Michael Pena does not make an appearance in this film, but thanks to Mr. Itahara for pitching that question to us.
Okay, all right. But other things that you would say about the film that we haven't covered in the spoiler section.
All right, just the first
expanding further
in a word association kind of a way, and a hold up the paper and guess what's on the other side of a paper in an ESP kind of an exercise in mental acuity. I'll go. I'm thinking that when we get to see Ray's occult bookstore, that I was just wondering, was that shot in the actual basement library of Dan Aykroyd? Because I just pictured Danny sitting around with his all his occult books, his sci-fi, his Alien Inquisition. Just Aykroyd put a good amount of himself into the Ray Stantz role, and that was a really flawless. Here comes Ray Stantz. Somebody's got to have that phone number connected to some kind of a phone, because who are you going to call? You're going to call Ray Stantz out of his occult library. You don't know the phone's going to the library, but that was a beautiful way for Aykroyd as Ray Stantz to pop into the film.
Yeah, and there's a shout out here. If I can hear Jeff, Mr. C, go Michael Pena like an Ant-Man. Yeah, okay. What? Yeah, another shout out for you to do, Michael Pena. Just very odd. The Ecto one is my next purchase to carpool kid. just kidding, mate. I mean, how fabulous would that be? Can you imagine? Can you imagine driving the Ecto one at all? I think the blue lights might get you in trouble in real life. Maybe not a great idea, but yeah.
That said, I don't have any photo reference or video reference worthy of this, but at some of the comic conventions or other pop culture conventions, some of the, and I don't know the names of the groups, so I'm exposing my ignorance of the hardcore fandom related to Ghostbusters, but some people have, you come back out in the parking lot at the end from having seen the Ghostbusters section or table in the Comic-Con, and it's not movie accurate Ecto-1, but some people put I mean, I don't mean they just didn't slap a magnet of the ghost with the symbol on him. I mean, some people put some serious time, effort, finance, energy, commitment, planning into having their car look, for whatever make and model their car is, look as much like Ecto-1 as can be. So, I mean, again, Google search, it's out there. It's some real good stuff.
And if you want to, total tangent, if you want to be a Ghostbusters in your own home, the HasLab is still up right now. So I think at the time of this video, there's a little bit more than a day to participate in the, I guess I can stick my head off to the side here, the HasLab, right? We just moved to the side. The HasLab Ghostbusters Proton Pack is up right now. It's $400. It doesn't get delivered until the spring of 2023, but it's met its threshold. It's broken through all of the tiers. So if you're interested in having your own proton pack, there's a little bit of time left to still participate in it. And I know we're in the spoiler section, but I'm going to bring out another prop. This came out a year ago now, but because the film has been delayed, I'm holding it the wrong, because the film has been delayed, yeah, it kind of didn't sell well. And now that the film is out, you cannot find this thing. So this is the Egon. I'm struggling with directions here. I would never succeed as a weather person. But it is just a beautiful piece here, where it lights up. It has all of the sound effects. It vibrates. I can feel the motor vibrating. You turn the knob, and then that actually ramps it up. You pull the trigger, and the thing shoots out, and it makes just a fabulous sound. We will do a full blown review of this thing at some other time, but I can't describe how much I love this thing. Absolutely fabulous. All right. Anything you would say about my little bit of show and tell there, Mr.
It looks
C?
great. Back in the day when we first met, we were in some kind of show and tell in the classroom at some point, and so we're the same as this is carrying on the conversation from the playground, from recess, from after school, about all the cool stuff there was to watch or pop culture things to experience, as we are here now. So that was a outstanding rendition of a show and tell.
Yeah. See Barry J. Clark for his Ecto-1. So that is a good follow-up thing. Mr. C, you're okay. we should just, just have Stay Puffed on all the time. Okay. Yes. This Michael Pena thing ain't going to go away, apparently. And all right. Well, okay. I don't know. I don't even. All right. Fine. Okay. So other things about okay, we're in the spoiler section of the film. As I said, I cried at the beginning of the movie. I really loved the Ghostbusters, as we said at the top. And for me, hey there, Blue Sasquatch. I think Ghostbusters have an M. I really loved the Ghostbusters as a kid, and I had glasses. I was a kid in the '80s with glasses, and you didn't see many heroes with glasses on at all, really. And so with Harold Ramis, he was one of the few heroes, right? Of a character that had glasses and wore glasses throughout the whole thing. It wasn't that they broke or he took them off and he was some other kind of person. He embraced his wearing of glasses. And so if you were to identify with any of the Ghostbusters, Egon was my character. So when he passed away X years ago, it was a sad thing for me, right? It was a sad thing for many people, but it was sad. And I think it was sad in the same kind of way like when Carrie Fisher passed away, although obviously an iconic character to iconic person to many. But it was the same kind of thing where when she passed away, it was abundantly clear also in the way that the sequel trilogy was handled, we were not going to see Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher together again. And here with the Ghostbusters franchise, with the passing of Harold Ramis, we were not going to see the four Ghostbusters together again ever. And so that was, tragic for sure. And yeah, and thanks, Junkyard. Yeah, Egon was the best. For me, at least. And surely, if you identified with any other characters, I get it. And so when he shows up in the very beginning in the shadowy form, I was a mess. I was crying because I didn't know. I guess in the setup for the film, in the trailers for the film, you knew that there was going to be um, a lot of Egon. You knew that there was going to be a lot of Egon, but I did not expect to see him in a physical form in the film. So I was a mess, and I'm going to hold off to the ending for a little bit more. I thought the performance, as I said earlier, were fantastic. McKenna Grace was fantastic. I liked the interaction that she had with Logan Kim as podcast. I thought that worked very well. Podcast served as a little bit of the exposition to explain a little bit of the lore, right? To explain who she was in the series, or excuse me, who um, Phoebe is, and the significance of her grandfather. Podcast is taking her along that hero's journey. I thought that worked very well, and I like the mom, whose name I'm blanking on, played by Carrie Coon. I thought she was good. An interesting take where she was not necessarily a likable mom figure. They played it in a different way that I thought was a little bit non-traditional. So I thought that was bold, and I loved the interaction with Paul Rudd, who I kind of think it's all his fault that all this bad stuff happened because he opened up the ghost trap. Because why? I don't know. But I like.
Yeah, maybe we're distinguishing a Spengler level scientist from a I don't know, a garden variety, from a scientist who's not quite on that zenith Spengler level.
Yeah, because of our previous video, yeah, Blue Sasquatch. I know your vibe. I know your vibe on it, and so I assure you, I'm going to get to it on the thing. And does this proton pack shoot bubbles? No, it does not. That's the Ghostbusters 2. And it vibrate. Yes, it does. This thing does. The neutrino wand, Spengler's neutrino wand, does vibrate. So that is odd, because the vibration should be coming from the proton pack. I don't really know, but yes, okay,
I mean,
yes.
it's a power tool. So I mean, if you're pushing a lawnmower, it's going to have some stuff. If you got a battery powered drill, it's going to have a little bit of reverberation. So yeah, it realism.
That's right. That's right. The characters that I thought worked less were Trevor and Lucky. I felt like they were there only because somebody needed to drive the Ecto One. Um, I did not. They didn't seem to have a whole heck of a lot of depth. I was more interested in the Phoebe and podcast interaction, and there was a moment in there where you're spending time with Phoebe and podcast, and then it cuts to Trevor and Lucky, I think is the character's name, going off, on this journey to the top of that mountain thing, and I actually felt sad about it. In that, okay, or just like, this is not the story that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in their story. Um, and I do think also in that section, in that kind of middle section, the movie does suffer. And so Blue Sasquatch isn't wrong. There were moments where I was a little bit disengaged, where just they could have amped up the ghosts showing up in the film. They could have brought more of that, that excitement energy, the mystical, stuff that you see in the first Ghostbusters. I think they could have done that differently in this film, and still it could have worked out.
Well, now that I'm hearing you detail and describe your experience, Now all of a sudden we were just it was a pod race, not podcast, but it was a pod race. You got young Anakin zipping around there for a lot of minutes, and other than watching it happen, how is it driving the story?
That's right.
My take was a touch different. I think you want to have a younger character to be relatable to somewhat age peers in the audience, and then you have an older sibling to be, again, somewhat relatable to a slightly different age dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the banter between the Finn Wolfhard character and the young lady was pretty reminiscent of a teenage movie. It didn't have that exact John Hughes teenage feel to it, but some of the contemporary works, some of the things, John Cusack and the One Crazy Summer and a Ralph Macchio and a Karate Kid kind of feel. There was definitely, for me, it hit the right marks for establishing the teen experience, and the fact that they went with a roller skating servers at the drive-in place. I mean, that had a very well, let me go first. Over here in the north side of Chicago, we have Superdog,
right?
And it had a very different color scheme, but a very similar style to a classic looking drive-in. And then also, if you're going to think about it, it's not too much of a stretch that tying back to American Graffiti or the early episodes of Happy Days before it was filmed with a live audience. A lot of the exterior shots of Happy Days were similar to that. So combining that with the soundtrack, which dug into a significant number of older songs, older material, I thought that was a real good use of building this world, setting up this stage.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really get to know this town really. I didn't know if this town was necessarily believable. We're in rural whatever, and I don't know if I know much about it. Apparently, the school is not great with the summer school that where you've got Paul Rudd as the as the teacher. Apparently, not the best. Where they're watching Chucky and stuff. Probably not the best school system where watching horror movies is part of the curriculum. But I don't know if I really bought into the environment necessarily. There were also some parts that I thought maybe they're on the cutting floor, like the Bokeem Woodbine introduction. Lucky's dad is the sheriff, and I thought Lucky could have probably been more written, and maybe there's just cutting room floor stuff where maybe she had more story and it's just not present in what we saw on the screen. But yeah, I would have. I like him as an actor, so I would have liked to have seen more of him, but that he doesn't. He's just in that little narrow bit, and then he's kind of gone somehow when everything is going sideways and the apocalypse is happening. Somehow nobody is in the police station, and they're able to get all their stuff. And the Muncher ghost that was introduced earlier conveniently shows up here, and that's how they get. If you think too much about the story, it doesn't work that well. But if you're along for the ride, it's okay. It's just sort of like with Hawkeye episode 2. Like, oh, okay, I guess we're gonna let it go that somebody stole the Ronin suit and he's gonna do the LARPing thing to. Okay, sure, we'll go with that. It's fine. So the more you think about it, the less it holds up. The two other things about spoilers for me. The family issues thing I thought was very interesting. I thought the family thing was very interesting. It straddled the line of how to handle the passing of Harold Ramis and the managing of the Egon Spengler character, and I thought and doing it in a way that was not saccharine. It had an edge to it. It had a tragedy to it. I thought that was a really bold choice, and I think from reading some of the articles that it had something to. Jason Reitman was bringing a little bit of his relationship to his father, Ivan Reitman, who directed the first Ghostbusters, into this film, where Ivan Reitman was a very popular, in-demand director, and that probably had an impact on his availability as a father. And so this father issue, or the absent parent thing, it manifests itself in a way in this film. And I thought it was very well handled. It was very well handled, where it was not to the detriment of the legacy, or the aura of Egon. But I thought it was very respectful, and I think creatively handled. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of layering in there, as you're saying, between father and son in the real world, from one generation of director to the next.
Mhm.
What's Mandarin got for us? I need fanboy wear glasses. You're sending me to the store or to Amazon. I don't have a Stay Puft hat, but maybe for a future outing we could run that drill. Where was I going? Okay, so the layers, and so then also the loss of Harold Ramis, the
Mhm.
loss of years. Years have passed. The world has changed. Things have changed. The movie's trying to touch on that and capture that. Yeah, so there was a lot going on with that. If I could just jump back to the mom and her dialogue, I think there was a certain cadence, a certain tone, a certain humor style. One could say sarcastic, one could say somewhat consistent with Daniel LaRusso's mom, a little bit consistent with the mom from E.T.
Mhm.
So I'm not saying she was just a clone, but she had familiar threads of the archetype of this particular type of mom, a single mom, with a quick-witted way and a clever way of interacting. So that was I thought it
That's
was
true.
well written, well constructed. Uh,
That is true. I wish that I did not know that the main characters from the original Ghostbusters were going to appear here. Um, and I think they had kept it under wraps for a while. I did not see that until the reveal of the Ghostbusters Afterlife action figures that had the OG Ghostbusters in as their current day selves, rendered as action figures. So I didn't know that they were going to be there, and I kind of wish that was in today's world. It's very hard to kind of suppress that type of news. Everybody can look at IMDb, but I do wish that I didn't know that that was going to happen, because then it would have been all the more surprising and wonderful when they show up at the very end there. Even though I knew that they were going to appear at some moment in the film, that is when I started crying again. I started crying when the original Ghostbusters showed up, and then when the moment happens where Phoebe is losing the battle against Gozer, and Harold Ramis, or sorry, Egon shows up, the grandfather help. I was a mess again. I was an absolute mess. And when you get to see the original Ghostbusters together, and then they look off to the side and they're joined by Egon. It was just perfection for me, and it almost makes me wonder, looking at this film, could they have done something like this in the Rise of Skywalker, or other properties where it just didn't connect as well. Yeah.
there could be a more detailed point counterpoint between the franchises, but I'll just say somehow this Ghostbusters Afterlife found the way of connecting to the previous material while charting a very good current and new course. I guess I'll just jump to Paul Rudd for a little bit. So
Yeah.
his small tribute of Ant-Man. So when he's at the Walmart, the ice cream that he gets is Baskin Robbins. So that had to be referential to his
That's right.
temporary employment as Scott Lang as Ant-Man, working at the Baskin Robbins. They always know.
Baskin Robbins don't play.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
And then bridging that, so as was seen in the trailer, so then instead of having the giant Stay Puft Marshmallow, you have the mini marshmallows, and that was so funny, so funny. So instead of, and again, here's the same basic thing, but we're going to put a significant enough twist in it to make it new. Instead of giant, we went for miniature. That just they're it was a lot like Gremlins, the motion picture. Mm-hmm. So then they're all the hilarity, all the savagery, all the uncivilized ways of between the Gremlins or between these mini marshmallow characters come to life. That I was laughing a lot, and I was glad that stuff was incorporated into the movie.
Oh man, I guess we're gonna need to have a Michael Pena video or something about this. If there was a beef-ish that I have with the film, because it relies so much on nostalgia, I feel like some of the beats are a little bit long, and I think for somebody who may not have seen the first two films or may not have the affection for the first two films, it just looks odd, right? The long hanging on a wrapper that comes out of one of Egon's, the candy wrapper that comes out of one of Egon's jumpsuits, or the long look at the proton pack, or the neutrona wand, or what have you. I feel like some of it was perhaps a little bit stretched out. The redo of the same big bad from the first film coming out here in the third or fourth film, whatever count we are. It's kind of like, and I love Return of the Jedi, but it is another Death Star, right? Or The Last Crusade. Okay, we're back in the Christian whatever big bad world, or whatever you want to call it there. So it's kind of would like to expand, but relying on the nostalgia. Okay, it's fine. All right. Anything else that you would say, spoiler-wise, before we talk about the end credits?
Well, before the end credits, yeah, just that straddling or trying to interweave some nostalgia with some new twists. So you're right. You had your PK meters, you had your Ecto-1, you had your ghost traps, but then the reinterpretation of the ghost traps between having it on like a mobile on the wheels, to me that made for some exciting stuff. And then 99.99% sure in the original Ghostbusters, in Ecto-1, they didn't have the capacity to convert to the gunner seat. So just seeing that again, the same stuff, but with a interesting enough, put some energy in it, put some new polish on it. And so all that stuff worked for me, from the prop level to the revisiting the physical objects of this world, as well as the touch-ups, the little hatch in the back and the bottom of Ecto-1 that allowed for the remote control trap car to slide back up and in. That was really good. Just and even the name of the connection. So they said, so there were materials or minerals extracted out of this town that were used to, thanks pal, that were used to construct the building that was in New York. And even the guy's name, Ivo Shander. I mean, they're just the way certain phonetics sound like they're Star Wars, certain phonetics sound like they're Star Trek. So just even the way they came up with the name Ivo Shander, that's a name, just to me, the way that sounds like it fits into the name of a character that's in this universe. So they gave us a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I really enjoyed the film. Because of my affection for the first film and and perhaps less so for the second film, I love the Ghostbusters, and it delivered exactly what I wanted. I think it could have been a better film, so maybe it's not delivering exactly what I wanted, but in terms of the beats, in terms of what I was looking for, it got me what I wanted. I think it could have perhaps been a little bit more tightly written, could have had more action throughout, could have had a little less of that risk of nap time happening during the film for Blue Sasquatch earlier. I think that further the comment earlier. So, I think it could have been a little bit tighter, but yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. All right, let's talk about the end credits. So in the end credits, we get the appearance of Dana and Bill Murray. So that was Sigourney Weaver and Bill Murray. That was lovely. They ended up getting together. I absolutely loved that. And then we get the final end credits. You saw that you stuck around to the end credits.
I gotta tell you, pal, in honest disclosure, I kind of didn't even make real good on the first end credits, and we were in a theater of primarily younger
I
people
understand.
this morning, and the collective attention span had pretty much run its course. I'm trying to say in a certain kind of a way here. It was time to
I understand.
like Siskel and Ebert. It was time to hit the exit aisle, step down out of the balcony. But so go ahead. So now for the first time to my, go ahead.
So,
Spoil
oh
for me.
geez.
Give me what did they do?
So I understand what happened. I appreciate you for hanging on. So what you see at the end credits is Annie Potts and Ernie Hudson chatting, and Ernie Hudson, or Winston Zeddemore, has become a successful businessman. He had the talent, he had the tools, and he made a strong business for himself. And he has then supported. Ray's House of the Occult bookstore and all of that. And he brings the Ecto 1 back from rural America to Manhattan. And he still has contrary to what is said in the film, the firehouse is not a Starbucks. It's still there. And bring in the Ecto 1. So the Ecto 1 is back in New York yet again. And I think it's interesting. So it makes me wonder, where would they go next? I mean, with this film, I think it's a love letter to the original fans of Ghostbusters. It addresses the passing of Harold Ramis beautifully well, but it could have just ended there. But now with this end credits, it allows the franchise to go on. So perhaps Winston is the head of the new Ghostbusters unit. Perhaps the kids relocate from where they are to New York, although I don't know how that works since they're teenagers or kids. But yeah, I'm excited for the future. I hope that there is a sequel of some kind.
I would be completely on board with a sequel. The box office numbers that you had mentioned, especially again considering for all many variables and many factors, particularly significant among those we're in the post-pandemic recovery of things.
Mhm.
So I would absolutely, I would be more anticipatory, more eager, more chomping at the bit to get to Ghostbusters Afterlife 2 compared to the level of excitement or engagement I had in 1989 for the original Ghostbusters 2. So yeah, I hope they do something. I hope they take their time with it, and that's okay, pal. It was it's life. You see a movie, no end credits and no soup for me. I'll say no soup with a Michael Pena voice, and then it'll all be all right. It always is going to be all right. OG is absolutely, like I said, the zenith, the standard, the yardstick, the unit of measure, the creme de la creme, the top marshmallow.
Yeah, I was struck by. Although I feel like we've seen Bill Murray in more recent material, and we've seen him in a number of very popular movies and over the years, from the original Ghostbusters to today. But maybe it was the makeup, or maybe it's just reality. He seemed older than I thought in this film. So I don't know if they made it more him today, right? That this is Bill Murray today, or did they perhaps do the makeup so that the wrinkles in one's face shows up better? But it was a signal for me that it's good for the franchise to continue forward, right? So whether it's the kids, whether it's a new set of Ghostbusters, but they have the mantle of the Ghostbusters, yet you still have the original Ghostbusters in some other fashion. I'm all in for that. I'll be down for that. Um, and okay, so the Mandarin will hook you up with soup. So that's
Thanks, Mandarin.
the chat is going somewhere other than where where
Hey,
we are.
you know,
It's okay.
it's like being in the room,
That's
right?
all right.
It's like in recess back in the day. Not everybody, you had a lot of different perspectives to integrate. So that I'm liking Mandarin. I'm liking Blue Sasquatch. I'm liking Junkyard.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Well, this was absolutely great. If you have not seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, it is still in theaters right now, and it just continues to do well at the box office. And I imagine it's going to be streaming at some point pretty soon. But it's well worth watching in the theater, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I have no doubt I will be a bawling mess every time I see Egon. But Egon and his appearance, but yeah, but it's a fabulous film. All right, I'm going to drop the spoiler banner now. Uh, closing thoughts. Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts, as we stated, looking forward with some anticipation and some eagerness to Ghostbusters Afterlife, or whatever the next film that they may produce. I really hope they do. Simultaneously, as we have in our libraries, as we've started to add in recent times, the art of books. So if there were either an art of book or some other vehicle, maybe I need to do some deep dive, deep cuts internet searches. But so for all the other scripts and iterations of what would have been Ghostbusters 3, which didn't end up making it to the screen for all the culmination of reasons, I would be interested in to see those concepts, or see some art design or costume design, or anything about those. And any opportunity to reference the late great John Schnepp. So what Schnepp had done, as he became curious about the Superman Lives movie that was previously with Nicolas Cage, which did not actually get made. Nicolas Cage, Tim Burton, Kevin Smith, a lot of important names were putting the pieces together for that movie. And so Schnepp eventually then produced on his own a documentary, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, which that's a whole lot to speak on the what I got out of that. So just if there is some similar way to generate that stuff, or to find out all this for the Ghostbusters films that had not come to fruition, I'm also now fresh out of the theater. Those will be my internet searches in the coming days, in a Schnepp-like way, because how good the first Ghostbusters was, and because what a amazing contemporized, brought to life currently that Afterlife was.
Yeah. There is a book for the making of Ghostbusters Afterlife. I have it on order, but it's been delayed. So I was hoping to have it in time for this thing, but it's unfortunately been delayed. It's on its way. I'm very eager to check that out. And you're right. There's probably a lot of backstory about what was discussed. I know I've read from other sources that it was Bill Murray that was reluctant to jump back into the jumpsuit, because they couldn't figure out a story. Over all of these years. So I'm very glad that we have Ghostbusters Afterlife, and oh my goodness. All right. So I think we're going to wind up this video here. Thanks so much, Mr. C. Thanks for the chat on Ghostbusters Afterlife. You would recommend it to other viewers?
Definite recommend. And again, maybe we'll come back another time and be able to speak on some other some other, Ghostbuster related product. But for now, here's it's a wrap up. Svenguli's coming on right about this time of night, and we're no fools. We're not trying to run airtime concurrent with in competition with Sven. So thanks Blue Sasquatch, thanks Mandarin, thanks Junkyard, thanks Mr. Itahara, thanks everybody else who was out there to check us out. I hope people enjoy the conversation. I felt our contributors put some real good energy and banter in front of us, so it's all good, and I'm glad we did this.
No, absolutely. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for everybody who's been watching live. And if you're watching later, thank you. And always post in the comments because we do love to hear from you. Last prop that I will share here is this is the one Ghostbusters Afterlife action figure that I have. It was on sale during Black Friday time, so I picked it up.
Is that you?
This is podcast.
Oh, it's podcast. Okay, I had some glare. Okay, it's podcast. Good that he's up there.
There is a Phoebe exclusive action figure at Target that I have not been able to find, but I am on the hunt. And okay, all right, we're going to shut it down. All right, so last chance here, Mr. C. All
right. 3 wavy lines like 3 rivers.
Oh my goodness! Oh, we gotta shut it down right now. You got it. Well done. I don't have to zap you from afar. All right. Well, as always, thank you so much for watching. As always, please click the like, click the subscribe. We look forward to chatting with you again. Thanks for watching. This has been the Fanboy Cantina. Take care.
Good night, everybody.